Imagine you're a young woman driving home late at night. We're talking rural Massachusetts. It's the middle of the night, you're coming off a late shift, and you need gas. So you pull into this deserted gas station. It happens to be a Shell in this case. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Late night empty gas station. A little creepy.
Yeah, definitely creepy. That setting just adds to it too. That isolation, the darkness, you just feel exposed.
Yes, you feel vulnerable. And in this story, the woman was already feeling a little out of sorts. She had recently moved back in with her parents after a breakup. She was still getting used to the quiet, rural area. This late-night gas stop was supposed to be a quick in and out, grab some food, and head home. But she runs into this strange man at the station.
Mm.
And things start to feel really uncomfortable really fast.
You know, it's so often like that, those little warning signs, those gut feelings you get when something isn't right. But we ignore them. You know, if it means making a fuss or seeming rude or something.
Right? You don't want to cause a scene.
Yeah.
And in this case, the man was acting really weird.
Mm.
He strikes up a conversation, which, fine, whatever. But then he starts doing this finger trick, like when you pretend to pull off your finger.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so childish and out of place. It immediately sets off alarm bells, but then it gets weirder. She goes inside to pay, and when she comes back out, the man is gone. His car's still there, but the gas pump is still running.
Whoa. That's a huge red flag right there. Get out of there.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes we rationalize these situations. We tell ourselves we're overreacting or we don't want to make a scene.
Yeah, exactly. You're thinking, did he really just leave the pump running? Maybe he's in the bathroom. Who knows? But either way, it was enough to make her jump in her car and get out of there. She even checked the back seat just in case. But the story doesn't end there. When she gets home, she uses the spare key to get inside and starts eating her food in the kitchen. Suddenly, she hears the front door unlock.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine that? Alone in a house late at night, you hear someone coming in.
I know it'd be terrifying. So she runs to check, and no one's there. She races upstairs to her parents' room, and they're both asleep. Her dad grabs his flashlight and rushes downstairs. And what do they find? The spare key is missing.
Oh, no. Now that's scary. Like the violation of the home and that missing key, it just shifts the whole thing from creepy to terrifying. It's like, now it's not just a random encounter. Now it's deliberate.
Exactly. And they're frantically searching the house, calling out when she spots him. The man from the gas station, hiding under the dining room table.
Oh, my God. That shows you how our sense of safety can just be shattered. You feel secure in your own home, but even those boundaries can be broken.
It's a reminder that danger can be anywhere, even the places we feel safest. Luckily, in this case, the family was able to fight the intruder off, and he ran away. The police arrived quickly, but unfortunately, he was never caught. So scary.
It's disturbing. The fact that he deliberately tried to get into the house, that's premeditation.
I know it's really unsettling. All right, so for our second deep dive, we're heading to Long Island. This one's about a man named Sam Blackburn. And he claims his encounters with the paranormal started in his childhood home and continued to haunt him for his entire life. It's a story that really blurs the lines between reality and something else, something much darker. And it makes you question, how much control we actually have over our own lives.
That's a great point. And what's so fascinating about this story is that idea that negative energy can just permeate a place, attach itself to people, or maybe even the land itself. It's both intriguing and unsettling.
Right, it makes you think about what's really out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam grew up in a pretty chaotic household, lots of siblings, lots of tension between his parents. But things took a dark turn when his step-grandparents gave his older sisters a gift, a Ouija board.
Oh, the Ouija board. Always a recipe for disaster. Whether you believe in it or not, it's definitely a powerful symbol.
It's a catalyst for something dark.
Oh, for sure.
The sisters, being teenagers, of course, started using the board. Down in the basement, where their bedrooms were, that's when things started to get weird. They felt a negative energy building in their room. They saw shadows moving. And one night, one of the sisters was even attacked by an unseen force while she was sleeping.
That's terrifying. So, does that mean the Ouija board was the source of this negative energy, or was it just a way for something that was already there to manifest? Was it a doorway, or was the door already open?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's something that Sam has wrestled with his whole life. After the attack, their mother understandably freaked out. She destroyed the Ouija board and prayed over the house, but it felt like the damage was already done.
It's like opening a portal, or like you said, maybe things were already going south. It's hard to say.
Yeah, you never know. And what's really creepy is that this negative energy didn't just affect the sisters. It felt like it spread to the whole family, like it was contagious.
That's scary. Maybe negativity really can be contagious. Maybe it can feed on itself and grow stronger. Or maybe that's just us trying to make sense of random events.
Right, maybe we're looking for patterns that aren't really there.
Mm.
But the arguments between Sam's parents got more violent. His sisters were constantly fighting. The whole family dynamic just shifted into something dark and disturbing. It escalated to the point where Sam's father actually shot at one of his sisters in a drunken rage. Sam, who was only 9 years old at the time, managed to talk his dad down and prevent a tragedy. But that just shows you how deep this negativity had become.
Oh my God. That's horrifying. For a 9-year-old to have to step in like that, it just breaks your heart. It really makes you wonder what was going on in that house. Was it just bad luck? Or was it something more?
It's really frightening. And, it wasn't just the family either. One of Sam's dad's trucker friends, this big, tough guy, refused to stay in the basement again. After being attacked by a dark shadow in the middle of the night, this wasn't just people imagining things. Something real was happening.
It's different when it's someone outside the family you know. If it was just the family, you could maybe say it was stress or imagination. But when someone who's not related to them experiences the same thing, it makes you think twice.
Right. Makes you wonder if there's something more to it. And this is crazy. It wasn't even limited to the house. Sam had a terrifying experience at school. He was running and suddenly felt an unseen force hold his foot down, causing him to crash right into a wall. He was convinced he was going to die.
That's chilling. So this negative energy followed him out of the house. What does that mean? Does that mean something was attached to him personally? Or was this the beginning of a lifelong pattern, something psychological?
Those are some really interesting questions. And yeah, it is a scary thought that something dark and sinister could be attached to you, influencing your life in ways you don't understand.
And that we're all just puppets in some cosmic game.
That's a really unsettling thought. We'll keep exploring that idea as we go through Sam's story. But his escape from all that negativity at home came when he moved to Florida with his father. At first, things seemed pretty peaceful. You know, fresh start, sprawling property. But that peace didn't last for long.
That's how it always goes. The calm before the storm.
That's right. They started a farm. But animals started dying mysteriously. Chickens were killing each other. Pigs were eating chickens whole. The goats and cows were getting strange illnesses. It was just a constant cycle of death and despair.
It's one thing when animals die. That's always sad. But when it happens in strange and unexplained ways, you gotta wonder if there's something else going on.
Yeah, it was really hard for Sam, especially as a young teenager. He had no experience with farming. On top of that, he started experiencing sleep paralysis for the first time. Sometimes he'd feel held down by an unseen force. Other times he'd wake up to shadowy figures in his room.
Sleep paralysis is scary enough on its own, but with everything else that was happening, it just adds to that feeling of negativity and dread.
Absolutely. And as this was all happening, Sam noticed his father's personality changing again. The loving, affectionate dad he remembered was gone, and he was becoming cruel and erratic, prone to outbursts of rage. Sam was convinced the land itself was cursed, and that this evil was influencing his father.
Cursed land. Haunted by past trauma. That's a common theme. It speaks to that idea that places can hold on to negative energy long after whatever events created it have passed. But then again, is this negativity real? Or is it just a way to explain things that are beyond our understanding?
Those are great questions. And for Sam, it wasn't just a story. It was his reality. He saw his dad's eyes go black and his face twist into something monstrous. He was living in a nightmare. And the only escape he saw was to join the military. He was only 16.
Wow, 16 years old. Joining the military at that age, that says a lot about what he was going through.
He was desperate.
He needed to escape, find some sense of normalcy.
And you know what's crazy? While Sam was away in the military, his sisters, who were still living back in that Long Island house, they continued to experience weird things too. One of his sisters, Janelle, rented the house for a while, and she said it was just constant chaos and violence, just like what their parents went through years earlier.
That's eerie. Maybe the negativity was tied to the house itself. It lingered there for years, affecting anyone who lived there. Or maybe it's just family patterns repeating themselves.
Right, like history is doomed to repeat itself. And her son, Sam's nephew, started drawing these creepy pictures of demons, even though he'd never seen anything like that before. And remember, this was the same room that Sam had slept in as a child.
That's disturbing. It's like the negative energy was being passed down, affecting even the youngest members of the family. Or maybe he was just picking up on the anxieties and fears of the adults around him,
That's possible.
expressing those fears through art.
Yeah, kids are really sensitive to that kind of stuff. But it does make you wonder. It's like the house itself was a container for this dark energy, and anyone who lived there was affected by it.
It's like a curse that just won't go away.
It's scary to think about. And this is just the beginning of Sam's story. We'll be right back to dive deeper into the strange events that continued to plague him throughout his life. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. For more stories like this, we've got new content every week.
We'll see you soon. So we were talking about Sam's childhood and moving to Florida with his dad.
Right, and how he thought maybe things would be better there.
But they weren't.
Not exactly.
No.
So after Sam got out of the military, he went back to Florida to help his mom and maybe reconnect with his father. He ended up helping his dad move to a new property. But while they were doing that, he saw that familiar darkness in his dad's eyes again, that same anger he'd seen before.
Oh, wow.
It was like that negative energy had just followed him.
It's like it was attached to him somehow. Or maybe being back in that environment just triggered something.
And then during one really bad argument, Sam's dad actually grabbed his loaded gun and threatened his mother. Sam had to get his mom out of there fast.
Oh my gosh.
But thankfully, he was able to calm his dad down. And his dad said something that was really chilling. He told Sam he felt like there was something inside him, something like a snake that was controlling his actions.
That's so creepy. It's like he was aware of this negativity but couldn't fight it.
And Sam's dad actually admitted that drugs and alcohol were the only things that could keep this entity at bay.
Oh, wow.
He said he knew what he was doing, but it felt like he was on autopilot.
Like he was trapped.
Totally. And even after moving to that new property, Sam's dad kept threatening his mom.
Oh, no.
It was so bad that Sam had to confront him. He said if his dad hurt his mom, he would take care of it himself.
He had to protect his mom from his own dad.
Yeah, it was a really tough situation.
That's heartbreaking.
But that confrontation with Sam actually seemed to work. The threats stopped, but their relationship was still strained. And Sam's dad died a few years later, really sick and just consumed by all that negativity.
That's so sad.
And after his dad's death, Sam's sister Tiffany, who had been living on the property, said her husband started acting really strange. He was mirroring a lot of their dad's habits, even arranging his belongings in the same way.
That's creepy. It's like this entity or whatever it was attached itself to him after Sam's dad died.
Like it was looking for a new host.
Oh, it's a chilling thought.
So after his divorce, Sam moved into a new house in Summerfield, Florida. He wanted a fresh start, a peaceful place for himself. But even there, he felt like he was being watched. He saw shadow figures, he felt uneasy. And the house was constantly infested with bugs.
That's so gross.
And get this, he later found out that the previous owner of the house had experienced a lot of trauma there too, including her husband dying of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
It was like the house was holding on to all that bad energy.
It's like those stories about haunted houses. Places holding on to negative energy.
So Sam decided to do a spiritual house cleansing. He went through each room praying, reading from the Bible, using blessed olive oil. And while he was doing that, he felt this huge wave of negativity. So powerful it made him cry.
Wow, that's intense.
But it seemed to work, at least for a while. Things felt lighter, more peaceful. He even saw this brush fire that burned in a perfect square around his property. But his house was untouched.
Really?
Yeah, some people told him it was a sign of angels protecting him.
That's interesting.
But that peace didn't last. Sam started renting out rooms in his house. And with each new tenant, the weird stuff started happening again. One tenant was a witch. And it felt like she just amplified all that negativity.
Oh, no.
And after she left, everyone who rented that room either got sick, died, or just vanished.
That's a lot of bad luck.
It's like he opened a door and all that darkness came rushing back in. And one night he even heard knocking under his bed, followed by a muffled voice saying, "Hello."
Oh my gosh, no thank you.
And then things got even worse. Sam started having what he believed were succubus attacks, waking up feeling drained and violated. He even saw his ex-wife's face morph into something horrifying.
That's terrifying.
So he went to a pastor who had experience with dealing with the occult. And the pastor performed a prayer to sever ties with his ex-wife. And after that, Sam said he felt a huge weight lifted off of him.
It's amazing how powerful our minds can be.
Right. And he even noticed that the crows that had been constantly attacking his roof suddenly stopped. They just stayed beyond his property line, quiet and watchful.
Huh. Like they were respecting some kind of boundary.
It's weird. But eventually Sam moved out of that house. He decided to focus on cleansing his new studio apartment instead. But he couldn't escape the bad luck that seemed to follow his tenants. One couple even robbed him and took all his furniture. It's crazy. And then when he was living in Louisville with his new fiancée, Sherry, all sorts of strange things started happening again. Sherry's a poet, and she always seems to attract unusual people and experiences. One man even claimed he could shapeshift after doing some kind of dark ritual, and he sent her this creepy picture of himself in mid-transformation.
No way.
And while they were living together, Sam had these really vivid nightmares about dark entities, and he even saw a large shadow figure in their house. Sherry had an out-of-body experience where she felt like two entities were dragging her spirit away.
That's scary.
It's like this negative force was always looking for new sources of energy, new people to attach to.
Like parasite.
After that experience, Sam performed another house blessing, and things seemed to calm down. But, just when you think it's over. Sam and Sherry moved back to Florida, and not long after that, Sam's dog Benjamin died suddenly.
Oh, that's sad.
And then get this. Sam's sisters said they saw their dad's ghost in their mother's house. But Sam doesn't think it was his dad's ghost. He thinks it was a parasitic entity, something called a familiar spirit, that attached itself to his family.
A familiar spirit.
Like they're all linked to this dark force.
That's a scary thought.
Sam's living in a camper on his mother's property now, and he's still experiencing weird things. His emergency supplies keep getting messed up. He keeps seeing this creepy owl. He even heard a voice under his bed again.
It just won't stop.
And remember his childhood home on Long Island, the one where all this started? It burned down.
Well,
A
what?
fire started in the basement, the same place where they used the Ouija board.
Wow, that's crazy.
Coincidence or something more? We'll be right back to talk about what happened next with Sam's story and what it all means. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We've got new stories every week.
We'll see you in a few.
All right, so we're back. And before the break, we were talking about how that negative energy, that feeling of something dark following Sam, seemed to just linger no matter where he went.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If these energies are real, how can we protect ourselves? What are the rules? Or maybe it's all in our heads.
It's a question that's haunted Sam his whole life. He's still trying to find answers.
And a lot of people can relate to that, especially when they have experiences that they can't explain. It's human nature to want to make sense of things, to find patterns and explanations.
I agree. So Sam's living in a camper on his mother's property now, trying to just simplify things and find some peace. But the strange events haven't stopped. His emergency supplies keep getting messed up. He keeps seeing this menacing owl. He even heard a voice under his bed again.
It's like it's tied to him, or maybe to his family, or maybe he's just become so focused on the paranormal that he's seeing it everywhere.
And remember his childhood home on Long Island, where it all started? It burned down.
Yeah.
The fire started in the basement, the same place where they used the Ouija board. Coincidence?
Or something more.
What do you think?
I don't know.
It's so unsettling. Sam's story is full of those moments where you just have to ask yourself what's really going on.
Yeah.
It makes you question your own beliefs, your understanding of the world.
It forces us to confront our fears, the fear of the unknown, the fear of losing control, the fear that there might be things out there that we can't even understand.
And yet there's something hopeful about Sam's story. He's still searching. He's still trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, I think that's what makes him relatable.
I think so too. His story is a reminder that sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain. But it's also a reminder that we're not alone. We all have our own stories, our own experiences. And those experiences make us who we are.
That's true. And even if we don't have all the answers, it's important to keep asking questions, to keep searching, and to be open to the possibility that there's more to this world than we can see.
Exactly. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight's deep dive. We hope you enjoyed these stories. And if you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back next week with more stories. Until then, stay curious, stay open-minded, and maybe sleep with the lights on.
Good night, everybody.